So what do all the following things have in common? Learning sign language, applying for a Guinness World Record, running for 1,986 days in a row outside, running a marathon at age 50, eating fire, riding a unicycle, getting an MBA at night school over 5 years. One thing they have in common is they are all daunting. Another thing they have in common is that they're all examples of personal challenges. Some require physical endurance, others require mental or emotional stamina, but they're all about learning or self-improvement or growing. The third thing they have in common is that I chose at some time in my life to pursue these. And most importantly, they have the unique benefit of building resilience. Together, let's talk about what resilience is. Resilience is the strength that you develop to move forward when life gets tough. It's the skills that you have to push through. It's the moving forward when life hands you something that you're not expecting. It allows you to say, I'm not going to quit. And you build resilience. You build that resilience by developing habits and strategies that strengthen your physical, your mental, your emotional stamina over time. That prepares you to handle life when it happens to you. You see, I talk to a lot of people, and most of them would say we spend our lives avoiding the edge, where it's comfortable, staying safe. But what if instead of staying in our comfort zone, we took a proactive approach to life? What if the challenges we choose actually aren't about the outcome, but are about the ability to build resilience? Today I'm going to show you how to use personal challenges to build resilience, so that when life happens to you, you are prepared. So let's first talk about what a personal challenge is. A personal challenge is a goal or an obstacle, something you put in your life to challenge yourself. It pushes you. It's hard. It allows you an opportunity to grow, to develop, to learn, overcome something. It pushes you out of your comfort zone. It also then requires you to develop new skills, new habits, and oftentimes a new mindset in order to succeed. Personal challenges, are deeply, deeply personal because they're about what your interests are, what your goals are, and what your growth is about. While someone might challenge themselves to get a black belt, another person might challenge themselves to paint a mural, learn a language. Everyone has their own personal interests that manifest themselves in their personal challenges. The value in a personal challenge actually lies in the journey as much as the outcome. This chart shows how personal challenges and resilience are connected. So as you progress through the stages of a challenge, from the start through the all the way through to the end of the challenge, you increase your resilience. Your resilience is going up, and you're able to do this. And actually what happens is over time, throughout the length of the challenge, your resilience goes up, and the difficulty of the challenge actually appears to decrease. It's an unexpected outcome because you have addressed it. You have taken on those challenges. You have become stronger by building that resilience. And unexpectedly, that challenge doesn't appear quite as daunting. You've overcome things over time that have changed your outlook on that personal challenge. The whole point of a challenge is because it's not easy. And the reason it's not easy is because you have opposition. And opposition could be time, it could be weather, it could be people, it could be physical limitations, it could be your own mindset. But you, over time, become more resilient and are able to push through those areas of opposition. So I want to share with you one of my more recent challenges that I took on, the lessons I learned, and the changes it made for me. My hope is that this story demonstrates that relationship between personal challenges and resilience. So in a casual conversation at the pickleball courts, someone said to me, "You should write a book about pickleball." I laughed and I said, well, it took me 5 years to write my first book. I'm not about to sign up for another 5-year project. It wasn't something I was very interested in. But despite my own objections, I went home that night and I said, well, I think I'm going to do this. But I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to write this book in 30 days. I'm going to take this on. And I just finished writing a book in 5 years, and I was like, okay, let's see what we can do. A little bit daunting. That's what personal challenges are supposed to be. And I was going to make it in 30 days. And this would save me from another 5-year project that I wasn't ready to sign up for. But it would also create a whole host of other challenges that I would have to overcome. I knew at the time it was a crazy idea. I knew that there were three, when I look back at it, there were 3 pieces of opposition that I was up against. The first one was time. I had set this arbitrary deadline of 30 days, so that was the first opposition. It was just time. The clock ticks. The second piece of opposition was that the book I had envisioned was a highly illustrated book about pickleball. And that was the vision I had for it. I can't draw. So now I've decided to write a highly illustrated book as a non-illustrator. So that challenge was like, okay, and I didn't have a close friend, anybody in my world that I knew was going to help me. But I said, I'm going to go do this. And the third piece of opposition was my own availability. I took this on basically day 0 with the idea that I forgot about every other commitment I had. And I now had to figure out how I'm going to balance this with the rest of my life that's going on. So the first thing I did was I made a public declaration via YouTube and social media. I went on and told people I was going to write a book in 30 days, and this is what I was going to do. And I was going to be publishing a daily blog about this. And every day I would go on for a minute and talk about what I was going to do to move this book forward. Well, it was, if you want to be accountable, tell the world about your personal challenge. Every day at the pickleball courts, everyone I saw your video, how you doing, how you doing? They wanted to know, and I didn't want to disappoint. So make yourself accountable when you think about personal challenges. You see, though, although I'd already published a book, I never did it in 30 days, and now I'm looking at the reality check of day one, going, how am I going to actually do this, now that I've shot my mouth off? And I've never done 120 pages of full-color illustrations from someone who can't draw. And I'm going to have to be relying on somebody else that I can enlist in this crazy challenge with me, that's going to be willing to take this journey with me. The clock was ticking. My emotions went from excitement, kind of naive, to, oh no, what am I going to do? So I first said a little prayer, said, okay, let's go. And from there, on day 1, I thought, okay, I could quit. I could pull down that social media post. I could pull down that video. I could walk away. And for a fleeting moment, it did cross my mind. Then I said, no, I've done other challenges. I got to figure out how to do this. I've signed up for this. And like most of my other challenges, I had my doubts. I remember signing up for a marathon. I was like, day 1, I was like, that was a really bad idea. What was I thinking? When I started with my own business, the first few months, I had my doubts. When I signed up for ROTC in college, I was like, this may not be a great idea either. The discomfort and the uncertainty were familiar. So I dug in, And I needed to pull on the mental toughness that I had been developing, that resilience to push past the fear. So for me, I started with getting illustrations done, since I had no idea how I was going to do that. I went down the path, I called people, I texted people, I put it out on social media, trying to find somebody who I could enlist in my challenge with me. And I got no after no after no. People thought I was kind of nuts and didn't want to help, didn't want to participate in that kind of timeline, mostly. I finally found a young college art student who signed up for it. Didn't know what she was signing up for, and I said, you're going to do 120 color page illustrations in 15 days. Because I needed her to work on my timeline, and I had to get other things done, so I needed her to work even faster than that. And she did. She signed up for it. She had a full-time job as well. She was a student, so she was on the mark. And although she was willing, she had never played a racket sport. So she had no idea how a ball bounces on a court, how someone holds a racket, where they stand, any of that. So my next job was to find some willing editors, some people who could help educate, review the drawings, review the sketches, and make sure that the drawings that she was producing were accurate and represented pickleball. And I found 3 editors. I now had these just wins. I had a couple wins. It fed my confidence. I'm like, okay, building that resilience, getting through this. But I couldn't just hope it would work out. I now had to build a plan, change my priorities, and really look for how I could move this forward. But it started to feel doable. I'm in that chart, I'm in that place, because where I'm just starting to get there and starting to feel doable, I'm feeling good about it. So I was 10 days into my 30-day project that I had signed up for when I received a draft copy of my book. Now, what am I 30 days. I'm in day 10, so I've already burned 10 days of my time. I got this book in the mail, and I hated it. I hated it. It was awful. It was not what I wanted. It looks like a kid's book. It was not anything I had envisioned. I was panicked. I had spent time, energy, a third of my time, and I felt like I had to start over. I was either going to quit, or I was going to find a way to pivot and move on. So I went back, I went, okay, resilience, resilience, resilience. I got this. What do we do? So what I did is I put this on the shelf and said, let's forget about it, we're going to start over, we're going to do this again. Part of it was because I made that public declaration. You know, I'm like, okay, well, I got to teach people, I got to help understand how you kind of pivot and what do you do when this happens to you. So, and then I reminded myself that whether it took 31 days or 35 days, it was more about the challenge and the growth than it was about a magic number. I was still kind of driven for that number. So I wanted to go forward. So I decided I would head in a different direction. Things started moving forward again. I was working through that. And as the deadline came near, the pressure started to mount. I wasn't certain. I had a lot of moving parts when you create a book. A lot of different pieces to do. The formatting, the organizing, the illustrations, the checking, the bleeds, all that stuff has to happen. And I had asked someone to help me with that formatting process that goes on, to put all the pieces together. And they've been helping me, and it was about day 22 or so, they went dark on me. Stopped responding to emails. Stopped answering the phone. I was like, oh, are you kidding me? We're like so close, so close. They went dark on me. So I had another choice to make. Quit, keep going, find somebody else. What do I do here? That resilience comes up again. What do I do? I took it on myself and said, okay, I'm just going to figure out how to do this because I got to get through this. I don't have time to do other things. I'm going to take this on. And, you know, for other challenges, I knew, like running a marathon, I'm going to finish. I'm going to finish. I don't know how exactly, but it's not if, it's how. How I'm going to get there. So I pushed forward, and then in the final days of my 30-day project, I had an epiphany. what if I took this terrible, awful book that I hated, and I developed a second book? And what if I published 2 books in that 30 days? That would be pretty cool. And that's what I did. I published 2 books in 30 days. I took the original book and made a second book out of it, and did the first book as is. The second book would become an adult coloring book. My illustrator was pretty awesome. She worked with me, I did that. In that process, I grew as a person. I learned a lot about pushing through. There's an element about learning a process as well. I learned how to write a book. I wrote the first one. Now I'm writing these books. I'm learning how to do this. I developed a process. Another unexpected outcome was that I now teach people how to write books. There's a process to follow. I learned, and this was a challenge that I took on just because someone at the court said, hey, this is kind of interesting. They probably weren't that serious, but it planted itself. And I said, I like that. I like that. I like where that's going. I want to do that. So I'm not suggesting that everyone take on a 30-day challenge to write a book. Not at all. I tell this story because we all have opportunities in our lives to take on personal challenges every day. There are many types of challenges. It could be educational, it could be adventure, it could be lifestyle, physical, creative. We all have opportunities that present itself every day. The choice is yours. If you want to take on that challenge and build your ability to build resilience in your life, so that when the external challenges come, when the things that you don't expect, the disappointments, the heartache, you have the tools to move forward. You have those tools. And you'll know that panic and fear are normal. You'll know that wanting to quit happens. You'll know how to push through. And you know how to not give up. So you've learned a lot of things today. But knowledge is only valuable when acted upon. Knowledge is only valuable when acted upon. So take what you've learned today and do something daunting. Thank you.